a retro gamer and hobbyist artist with a lot of nerve. Crowlister, the master of ponage. Hi, I am Crowlister, master of ponage. Yes, this is what my voice really sounds like, and if you have a problem with it, you can go yourself. Do you know why I'm so excited about the new Super Smash Bros. Game after the Nintendo Switch's successor comes out? Because there's no way the game can be any worse than Smash Ultimate already is. In this video, I'm going to share my super hot take of why I actively disliked Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a specific game in the Smash series. More hardcore fans would understand and agree, and more casual people are going to think I'm like the worst person in the world for this. Just keep in mind that this is a matter of opinion, and I'm allowed to express what I want about a certain topic like games. So, here's why I think Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a garbage game. The first reason has to do with everyone is here. Although the return of every single character in the Smash series in the game might sound cool at first, it's actually really dumb. They basically focused on quantity over quality, which is not what a fighting game does for sequels. I mean, come on, roster cuts are in every single fighting game that's good enough to get sequels. And you have to get rid of some of the less relevant characters to make room for newer, exciting ones. And because everybody was included, they weren't able to throw in a lot of the fun game modes specifically for one player, like break the targets in the home run contest, for example. And the one-player mode was pretty limited compared to that of the other games. It was in it more so for the versus mode. And outside the versus mode, after you beat the World of Light, there's really not much reason to continue playing the game. Some modes, like the stage builder and the home run contest, were added as free content along with the Fighters Pass's development, and others, like the target games, are not in the game at all. Meanwhile, the multi-man Smash was cut severely limited as well, and that was kind of disappointing on that end. Nintendo basically sold a lot of games that they added content after the game came out to make them look more complete, and they kind of did that with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as well, and people just are not having this, you know? Additionally, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is not the most competitively balanced game. While it's not as ridiculous as what Brawl's was like with the random tripping and magnetic edges, Smash Ultimate still didn't balance the roster thoroughly. There are some characters, most notably Sonic the Hedgehog, among some people, that are in fact broken and horribly implemented. And you know, Sonic and pretty much every single character in the Fighters Pass except maybe Joker, most notoriously of all Byleth. Seriously, being able to grab the opponent in the air and then spike them, you cannot legally say that that's fair. And, you know, a lot of the characters in the Fighters Pass are just absurd to fight against, especially as a CPU. And some of them, like Sora and a hero that might not be as good playing as them, can decimate in an unfair way as a CPU opponent as well. As some of you might be seeing in my Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Epic Amiibo Battle Series. Not only that, there were also characters that didn't need a nerf that got a nerf. For example, Lucario. I enjoyed Lucario's inclusion in Brawl and 3DS and Wii U, and in case you can't tell by my artwork, I am a huge Lucario fan. Well, in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, they thought it would be a brilliant idea to give him the negative treatment that Falco previously got in 3DS and Wii U in Smash Ultimate, and now he sucks. And he needed a nerf by no means. Now, to be fair, some characters that needed a nerf, like Diddy Kong and Rosalina, did get a nerf, and characters that needed a buff might have gotten a buff as well. It's just there are some cases like Sonic where he got a buff that he didn't need, and Lucario got a nerf that he didn't need, for example. And that's just, seriously detracted from the fun of playing the game that one of my mains is now one of the most garbage characters. As well as caused me to hate some others for how good they are in the game. The next reason is the story. The World of Light was essentially Sakurai just taking out his anger, making a kind of post-apocalyptic world story where every character except Kirby gets taken away and has to be saved. And what's wrong with that? Kirby's just an adorable puffball with amazing jumping and the ability to copy anybody's neutral ability, and is a character that Sakurai himself created and cherishes. Oh, wait, that's the problem. Kirby is his own character. And while that does make sense because Sakurai loves his own work, it's still technically shameless self-promotion. He even said in an interview that Palutena and Bayonetta could also logically have evaded the attack from Galim and Darkon. They just went with Kirby only because he's an easy character to use. And while that might be valid, that doesn't explain how Palutena and Bayonetta are among the last characters you rescue in the game. And if you're playing through the World of Light, it's going to take hours on end to beat, especially for completion. And the entire game is just spirit battles almost. And while there are some cutscenes, it wasn't really a game mode that really needed to depend on them, like the subspacey mystery in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And while that's not necessarily a bad point, it does take up most of the reason you have to play the game. Like I said before in the previous point I made. And the promotion of the game is basically leading the game to appear like this great game that's actually, at least in my opinion, not. The game might have been ruined by the fans, because, it's the fans' fault why we got some of the characters that we got in Smash Ultimate. Ridley, K. Rool, Banjo and Kazooie, Steve, and, of course, Sora. Those characters were previously thought to have been impossible inclusions, and they easily could have robbed the spot of better characters that deserve more to be in the game and that could have been amazing fighters. Not that some of them aren't. Still, it is a step into overpromotion. The fan base is greedy, and Nintendo and Sakurai basically had to feed those people by giving us these characters that they previously weren't able to do. And, these characters prove that even if a character seems impossible to be in the game, it could still happen, and that can lead to massive controversy with what characters we could be seeing later. This essentially confirms that we are inevitably going to get Waluigi in the next game. Oh boy. Now, after I made my short about Kirby and Pac-Man, which was made in response to the announcement that Namco are co-developing Kirby Air Riders, which we interpreted was Sakurai's game proposal that I hinted at in his final YouTube video. Here's a little reminder, and I kind of forgot about this as well until recently. Namco made a studio specifically dedicated to helping co-develop Nintendo games. And before Kirby Air Riders was announced like a year ago, they were hiring for positions for more than one game project. A 3D one, and to be more clear, a side perspective one, like a Metroid Dread game or a Donkey Kong Country Returns perspective game. We have to assume that the 3D game that they were hiring to work on is Kirby Air Riders. So what could the side perspective one be? Well, it's pretty obvious. We all know that Sakurai is a notorious workaholic and can't ever seem to find a break for himself, and he cares deeply about the Super Smash Bros. Series, and knows that it wouldn't be the same without his direction, so a new Super Smash Bros. Game is still semi-confirmed. It's just going to be announced within the year at the soonest. If Kirby Air Riders is coming out this year, though, that has to mean that it's near the end of development, and probably just in the debugging kind of phase. So, within the year, we should be seeing word, at least, of a new Smash game. So the question is, how can we compensate having a smaller roster? Because, not every character is probably going to make the cut, because it was barely manageable in Smash Ultimate. So they're going to have to sacrifice some of the characters currently in the game, some of the less relevant ones, in favor of new characters and new game modes. Like, they need to add or bring back some previous one-player game modes, like Break the Targets, or add some entirely new game modes entirely, make Home Run Contest and Stage Builder, or try to make them be in the base game and be better than they were. The adventure mode does not have to be like World of Light, nor the Subspacey Mystery. It can be more along the lines of like Smash Run from Smash for 3DS. I love Smash Run. That was a fun game mode. Smash Tour on the Wii U, I hated. Though, I think we can all agree on that game was pretty bad. Smash Run, though, was really fun. That was mainly the reason why I would play Smash for 3DS back in the day. There is another similar fighting game to Super Smash Bros. That came out after Ultimate that I will not directly name in case it provokes Nintendo, and I typed the name of the game as you see here in Webdings font. If you can translate that on your own to know what I'm talking about. There's a campaign mode in it that Smash could easily take inspiration from and kind of base on for a new adventure mode, and it doesn't have to rely on cutscenes. Therefore, there's less issues regarding copyright strikes for showing the cutscenes on YouTube. The existing characters will have to have updates to their design and possibly even their moveset. Like, Donkey Kong is gonna have to have his quote-unquote Seth Rogen design. Because Nintendo clearly want that to be a permanent revision, as you can see even by the firmware update, to get ready for console transferring on the Switch. Not just Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Samus should not be in her depiction from Other M anymore. You could try and make her be like, Metroid Prime, or even Metroid Dread. And, like I said, there are some characters that badly need a buff, and others that badly need a nerf. Notably the downloadable content characters, because upon the Final Fighter adjustment, some of the characters got ridiculous in terms of how they are in the game, like I said. And that's one of the game's turn-offs. And, they need to come out with some surprises that nobody at all will expect. Like, think about how Nintendo is working with Mario Kart World as a sequel to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Booster Course Pass. In return for sacrificing the lineups and making them be smaller, they're making a literal open world game with a free roam and other new game modes and gameplay mechanics, as well as numerous skins for every character in the game. Which will make up for the content that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe previously had. Will it make up for the high pricing, though? Unsure, and I know for a fact the next Smash will be $80 minimum as well. Face it. Now, obviously, the real shakeup for any Smash game, even according to Sakurai himself, is the characters that'll be available for play. So, in the year to come, we will have to speculate which characters will leave and which characters will be added. I already made a couple of videos, a longer one and a shorter one, that give my character predictions or speculations where I talked about some characters we could possibly see. And I'll tell you this, most of the characters in the base game will definitely be Nintendo characters. The only third-party characters that I think could be in the base game maybe are Rayman and Crash Bandicoot. because they have to pay the developers that made the third-party games in part for the game, and if there's a budget, they have to be careful about that. So, unless a third-party character is like a mascot of a franchise that really wants to be in Super Smash Bros., other characters that are owned by production companies that already contributed, or lesser-heard ones that are just adding, will probably have to be DLC instead. And Nintendo are more focused on Nintendo characters anyway. Just take that one detail into further thought before you watch these videos. I might make a video speculating what characters could be cut from the game up ahead, maybe, if I get around to it, and if I get a little bit more attention than I've been recently. Growing a YouTube channel is not easy, mind you. So with that wraps up this controversy video. Consider subscribing if you like any of the franchises that I have listed here, because I'll make some different videos, like discussions or actual gameplay of some of these games. And I do a lot of fan art as well and how to draw videos, as somebody that has more than 500 watchers on DeviantArt and steadily growing there. And occasionally I'll try out some different games on the retro apps that I might be interested in filming, so I actually have quite a lot planned for my channel up ahead. And I'll be getting the new console as well, because I managed to be able to pre-order a set with the Mario Kart World game from Walmart online, so I should be getting that on the 5th of June as well. And we'll move on from there. So that's going to wrap up this video. I am Crolister, Master of Ponage. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on my next upload.